during Easter. You remember that? Anybody see me at Easter and had problems with all those eggs? Well, I'm back, and I understand somebody's in school. How many of you are in school now?
Not me.
Most of you? Some of you homeschooled? Some homeschooled? Well, I remember the days when I was in school. Way back then, school was just invented when Mr. Willie was little. They just thought of it. And lucky me, I was the first one of the kids to have to go to school. But anyway, do you like my hat? This is the actual hat I wore when I went to school. This was a cool hat, boys and girls.
Did it make you fly?
Oh yeah, propellers. And the coolest boys had the biggest propellers. Pretty soon there were such big propellers the girls could jump rope with them. I mean, they got way too big, and finally the principal said, that's enough. No more big propellers. You can only have propellers this size. So I saved this hat. But how many likes their teacher this year? How many's not sure? You're not sure if you like your teacher yet.
I have 3 of them.
3 teachers. Okay. 1 teacher. Well, I have to tell you about when I was in school. I had a favorite teacher. I was in 4th grade, and oh, boys and girls, she had long brown hair, very pretty, and I must say I had a crush on her. I just would stare into her eyes all day, and she would ask me a question, and I didn't answer. She'd say, what's 5 plus 1, Master Willie? That's what they called the boys back then. They would say Master, and then their first names or last names. So she said, what's 5 plus 1, Master Willie? And I just looked at her like that. Kind of like when I look at Mrs. Willie. I do the same thing, just kind of go like that. And she'd get upset. You don't know 5 plus 1? And back then, boys and girls, when you didn't know your lessons, you had to wear a dunce cap. Have you ever seen a dunce cap? Yeah, they're kind of pointed, and they look silly, and it says dunce. Well, a dunce means a dummy. You see, back then, boys and girls, we didn't worry about self-esteem. No. Ridicule was the way to make character. The more you was made fun of, the better your character. So I had to wear the dunce cap and sit in the corner, and I would just kind of peek around and say, and still look at the teacher because she was so beautiful. And her voice was like music. It was like, now children, we would. Oh, it was wonderful. It was like a symphony. Oh, it was great. But anyway, one day I found this terrible secret about. Oh, I didn't tell her name. Her name was Mrs. Muckles. Well, it's not funny. It's her name, Mrs. Muckles. Marjorie Muckles. And I found a terrible secret about her. You know what the secret was? She was married. I had dreams of growing up and maybe marrying Mrs. Muckles, but the fact she was a Mrs. kind of should have given me a clue because she was married. Usually when someone's Mrs., it means they're married. I didn't get that when I was little. I must have missed that lesson. But anyway, Mrs. Muckles had Mr. Muckles, and Mr. Muckles had married Mrs. Muckles, and both of the Muckles together had a kid named Monty Muckles. Monty Muckles, yeah. Now I will admit that's a funny name. Well, Monty was not a very nice boy. No, he was not. Remember I told you about another boy that wasn't nice? Billy Snips. Remember that guy? Well, they were friends. They were friends with Monty Muckle. They were both like best friends. Goes to figure, doesn't it? Monty Muckles thought it was funny to get kids to say bad words. He'd say, I bet you can't say this word, and he'd say a bad word, and if you did say it, he'd laugh at you. Well, the thing is, if you said it, then he'd laugh at you anyway. So why even do it? But one day, I was with all the kids, and Monty Muckles says, I bet you can't say this, Willie. And I had peer pressure. You know what that is? It means when everybody's looking at you, you want to be cool. And I said the bad word, and as soon as I said it, my face blushed, and I felt really sad because I knew, well, Jesus wouldn't want me to say it, and my parents would be upset with me. But I said it, and as soon as I said it, I heard a voice behind me. It said, Master Willie. And I turned around, and it was the principal. Mr. Whimpers. Mr. Whimpers. Now, he didn't talk real loud. He talked kind of soft. But when he talked, you had to listen. And he said, Mr. Willie, come to my office. Well, here, I'm in a terrible fix. I'd done something wrong that I knew I should have done. And now I had to go see Mr. Whimper in the office. Now, Mr. Whimper doesn't sound like a very mean guy. He wasn't mean, but he just had this soft way about him that you really knew you was in trouble. You know, you ever met somebody like that? They never yelled at you, but they just softly say something and you just quivered? Nobody, well, it doesn't make much sense. But anyway, I went to the office and he had a talk with me and I felt terrible. So the next day, I went to school and Monty Muckles was laughing at me. Ha ha, Willie, you went to the office, you said a bad word, ha ha. And I thought a minute, wait a minute, two can play this game. So I said to Mr. Monty Muckles, I said, hey, Monty, I bet you can't say this. And he said, what? And I said, Jesus doesn't want me to say bad words. He said, I'm not going to say that. I said, are you chicken? You can't say that? Well, he wouldn't say it. Because he knew that if he said, Jesus doesn't want me to say bad words, it would make him feel guilty. So I had the last laugh. I said, see, you can't even say that. You're chicken. So Monty Munkles didn't bother me after that. So that's one of my stories about, there's another story. What was I going to say now? Oh, what did you do this summer? Anybody have anything fun to do this summer? Well, you know what I did? I made my very own sunroom. You ever seen our sunroom? It's a room that you sit around in, the sun comes pouring in. Originally, it was going to be a workshop or a storage area. But I did something wrong and the roof caved in. And I was very discouraged about it. And Mrs. Willie said, well, you could always have a sunroom. And that's a perfect, it's got 4 walls with an open ceiling. And I just lay there like this and the sun comes in and I get my tan. See, that goes to show, boys and girls, when you make mistakes, you can make the best of it and still have something nice. So I've got a nice sunroom now. But anyway, one of the reasons, we have more stories. I have more stories. Oh, yes. I remember going on a hike one time in my class with Mrs. Muckles. Everybody go on a nature hike or where you pick up scientific specimens of plants and things? You did? Okay, well that's what we did. And we went in the backwoods behind our school and we went and I kind of went off the trail and I found these really cool plants, boys and girls. They had 3 leaves, they were kind of jagged, and they had nice little berries and the leaves were all waxy and shiny. And I thought, oh, this is wonderful. Look at these, I bet you no other kid's gonna have these. So I picked a bunch of them and put them in my bag. And then when I came back, Mrs. Muckles says, now class, show me exactly what you found. And I said, look at these, Mrs. Muckles. And she grabbed it like that and put it to her nose, and then she saw what it was, and she went, ah! She threw it down. Well, I didn't know. Can you figure out what it was?
Poison ivy.
Poison ivy. I didn't know there was such a thing. And so the next few days, I was gone, Mrs. Muckles was gone. And when I came back, Mrs. Muckles was back, and she had this kind of a pinkish stuff on her skin. I don't know what that was, just kind of, I don't know if it was medicine or what it was, pinkish stuff. And she didn't want to talk to me for several days. I felt bad. I still stared at her because she was still beautiful, even though she had a pink face, but still, that was kind of a bad thing. But anyway, the reason I came here today, boys and girls, I've been very concerned about you. You know, I've seen you carry your heavy backpacks. You know, I see these kids going around like this. And have you ever heard an older person say, oh, my back is killing me? You ever hear your moms and dads say that? Or grandpas and grandmas? Yeah, my back is killing me. You know why that is? Because they wore backpacks when they were little. That's the only reason. It's the backpacks, boys and girls, that are ruining our backs. Now, when I was a little kid, I was smart. I carried my bags, or my books in front like this, and then finally they got smart and they gave me a backpack. But I'm concerned about your backs. You know that there's a correct way and a wrong way to pick up a backpack and put it on you. Did you know that? Does anybody teach you how to correctly put on a backpack? Well, I want you to know that there's some powerful muscles that you have in your bodies. You know what the most powerful muscles in your bodies are?
No leg muscles.
Leg muscles, that's right. You're very smart. leg muscles. I have powerful leg muscles, boys and girls. They're like steel. You know why? Because I fall down a lot and I have to get up with my legs. That's the reason. See, once again, bad things make good things happen. So I have strong legs and I use my leg muscles to lift. When you get something heavy, you squat down like this and you keep your back straight and you pull up like that. That's how you're supposed to lift. Really, I'm not joking. So I'm going to demonstrate how you pick up a bag, how you put it on so you don't hurt your little backs, okay? I don't want you to grow up and say, oh, my aching back. I don't want you to grow up that way. I want you to grow up saying, oh, my back feels so good. Let me show you how to do it. Now, here's my backpack. Isn't it cool? I'm going to set it down here. What you want to do is set it against a solid surface. Set it upright, just like that. There you go. See, mine even has a little thing where you can drink stuff out of. I'm one of those cool kids. But anyway, watch. This is how you do it. You want to squat down using your powerful leg muscles. See? Squat down like this. Oh! Kind of balance yourself like that. And then you